Today we are going to see the basics of how we connect another instance with ServiceNow's scripted web service and more specifically how to enforce OAuth authorization on the scripted web services. So this is my personal developer instance and I'm going to open the scripted web service API menu. Now what this table contains is a list of all the configurations that have been created in the platform, which helps us to import the data into the platform using a custom script. So with ServiceNow, there are out-of-the-box table APIs as well, which can be utilized to bring in data to a specific table. But we do use scripted web services when there's parsing that needs to be done or certain data validations that needs to be applied on the incoming data, and post that it needs to be processed. So this is how a scripted web service record looks like. So basically it's got a name to it and we create a method underneath it. So it's just like a regular REST message with it's got a name associated with it and the methods which basically being called upon to create the records or does certain activities at the back of it. Now in this example, very specifically what we're going to do is as I said, so this video is more around how to enforce OAuth on the scripted web service rather than utilizing basic authentication. So if you don't want basic authentication to be applied to a specific scripted web service, then in that case, this is how we go about it. So I'm going to put in this code in the description of this video as well. But basically what we're trying to do here is we're looking at the headers. And again, this is just a way to do it. Again, there's no out of the box way of doing this. So this is more like a back pocket solution, if I may say. So what it does is it basically looks at the headers of the incoming request, and in the incoming request we have got headers, and as part of the headers we have an authorization header as well. Now what we do is we basically look for the authorization attribute and we try and see if it contains basic in the name of it. If it contains basic, that means we are using the basic authentication while we are requesting the call to the endpoint. But if it's bearer, what that means is we are utilizing the OAuth token-based authentication to connect with this scripted web service. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick demo of how this works and again show you the results in the Postman. So as you can see, the way it's been set up is if it's the basic auth that I'm using to connect to this endpoint, then it's going to return me this message saying basic authentication is not supported with this API. And again, you can actually send out an error code as well, or you can revamp this response message to the required one that you need. And again, if it's successful, you do the respective um, the changes in the database that you want to do. Say create an incident, create a problem record. Again, those kind of scripts can be executed in your else part. But again, as part of this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call the I'm just going to send out a response saying API call success. Now this is my Postman. So what I've done is I've already pre-configured some of these details. So what I've done is, as I said, so scripted web service is being created on the platform. Again, I'm not calling a specific table level API, but rather what I've done is I've created a custom one. And as you can see, the name of the custom script would come up something like this. Again, this is the name of the REST message. This is the method that I've created. Now what I'm going to do is to I'm going to try and utilize basic authentication. So just created a user profile with a specific username and a password, and I'm going to try and hit this endpoint with these credentials. So when I do that, as you can see, the result JSON has a response attribute in it. And again, the attribute value is basic authentication is not supported with this API. So this basically says that there is an error, or basically we cannot process the request that you've sent out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do the same with OAuth. Now, if I go back to the platform, if you're wondering what OAuth or the type of authorization is, in ServiceNow, we do have options to enable token-based authentications in the platform. So any data that is coming into the platform will require a fresh token when the request has been created, so that it's always dynamic rather than creating a user ID and a password, which is a very high possibility of being used by somebody else. So how do we create these credentials is basically just type in OAuth in your left hand side navigation, go to application registries. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the one that I've already created and show that as an example. So the one that I named was ServiceNow Personal Dev. It's pretty straightforward to create a record like this. All you need to do is select the option. Go back to the page. I'll try and create a new one. So the option says create an OAuth API endpoint for external clients. So this is basically to allow external clients to connect with the ServiceNow API. If I go back to the record that I've already created, basically it'll come up with a blank page. Got to give a name to the application registry, and the system will automatically generate a client ID and a secret. Again, you also get to decide how long a token will be valid for. Um, and, and yeah, once you've done putting in all these details, you can create the record. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use the same credentials that we've created in your OAuth registry as the credentials to call the scripted web service API that we had created. And we'll see that this time the authorization header does not contain basic, which will mean that we will get a response saying that the API call has been a success. So again, going back to the Postman, calling the same API, but this time what I've done is I've changed the type of the authentication, which is changed now to OAuth, and I've created a profile to get the token into Postman, and I'm utilizing the latest token that I've created. And as you can see, this token is only valid till 9 p.m. today. Now, if I try and send a request now to the same endpoint, but using the new credentials, you can see the result that comes back is the API call was a success. What this means is we are enforcing that instance or this specific scripted web service should not accept basic authentication and only accept OAuth. So yeah, that's pretty much for the video for today. Thank you all for watching.